And hello, all you folks up there in YouTube land. Thrash Pondo's here, and want to wish you all a happy 2/3 of the way through Howl-O-Month. Happy Halloween, prelated. I hope you're all having an excellent October. Leaves are actually finally starting to change here on Cape Cod. It's starting to look and feel like Halloween. I was actually down in the bridge having a few cold ones last night, and I could actually see my breath at one point. It was getting a little chilly. Of course, I like it brisk. Let's see. We have some folks in the chat. My flock is here, speaking in emoji and a many finger signs to you as well. Hello, sister Sarah. Gary's here says, "Hi there, everyone. I'm back." Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And it seems like it's just the two of you at the moment, but I couldn't think of two better people to start this chat with. So good to see you. And I hope you're all doing well. And I want to thank you for the warm wishes today. It was nice seeing you again earlier. Kevin is here from the entertainment headquarters. How are you doing, my brother? Again, sorry, wasn't in the cards. Kevin had an excellent podcast in the spirit of HOWL-O-Month this past week. I was unable to join, but I would like to do a future project. So please, if offer stands, keep me posted on upcoming events. And Sister Sarah, please give a link for not only yourself, but for Kevin and the entertainment headquarters. Oh, and the happy birthday. Okay, little private joke there. Long story short, I want to thank you guys all for the birthday wishes, by the way. They're very, very kind of you. It's actually the birthday of my channel. When I first set up the Facebook, I didn't want to use because I didn't set it up as me. Long story short, there was a fraudulent account in my name from years ago. I tried to take it down and I couldn't. So that's why I did, instead of my normal name, I did Thrash Pondo Pons instead of Bob Pons, which is my actual name. I used a different birthday too. I used the date I started the channel. And of course, Facebook didn't know that I just plugged it in there. So it keeps setting that up. But anyway, thank you, very, very kind of you. My actual birthday is in August. Thank you for the prelated or postlated, belated wishes. Gary says, "Have you heard some thieves stole some jewelry from the Louvre Museum in Paris? Um, didn't they also steal the original Mona Lisa? Mona Lisa, men have named you." Thank you for the links. Oh, Lance is here, says, "Hey, Thrash. Lance, so good to see you, my brother. Welcome to the shoe." Gary says, "Happy birthday to you, Thrasher." Thank you. Thank you. As Just Kerwin said earlier today, any birthday wish is a positive one. Gary says they didn't touch her. That is an old, long story short. I want to say over 100 years ago, some guys snuck into the Louvre dressed as maintenance workers. And they said they were taking the Mona Lisa down for routine maintenance and replaced her with a replica. It was thwarted, and the Mona Lisa was returned. But the running joke is, long story short, it was a brilliant scheme. What they did was they found a guy who clearly could make a replica. They stole the Mona Lisa, had him make 7 copies of the Mona Lisa, and sold them to 7 insanely rich people throughout the world who would want the Mona Lisa for their own private collection, but wouldn't be able to tell anybody because it was stolen. So no one would find out that it was a scam. Unfortunately, it didn't play out for them. But the running myth, if you will, is, did they get back the right one? Is the one in the Louvre the correct one? Gary says, "I saw that special once." It's been in a few things. They even did on Doctor Who about it, of all things. Palfrey's Gambit is here. The opening gambit, as it were. Is it that easy to pose as maintenance at the Louvre? Not anymore. Not anymore. There's checkpoints and credentials and all kinds of badges and identifications. At the time, there wasn't. And of course, bear in mind, this is turn of the century France. They were very Very bourgeois. So it's like, oh, you're the maintenance crew. Well, I can't be bothered with you. Just do whatever you're doing and then skulk away into your working class hovel. Prol. So yeah, it's sort of like the help. They didn't bother watching what they said because these people were just a help. What are they gonna do? In any event, so yeah, it wouldn't work nowadays, but it worked back then. But the hubris, huh? 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 Well, how about that art theft in Boston? I still am heartbroken about that one a few years ago. Where it was, oh, Tracy's here says hi, you guys, and I think I'm caught up. It's mostly so far it's just people having fellowship with one another, and of course that's half the fun. Do you have trivia tonight? By the way, it is going to be, guess what? Halloween movie theme. Not necessarily movies about Halloween, but movies that I deem perfect for Howl a Month. You see what I did there? Howl a Month instead of Halloween or All Hallows Eve or whatever you want to call it. Oh, and speaking of our Halloween queen, Emily is here. By the way, Emily Miller, good to see you, my lady. Hey, y'all, back to you, my dear. And that did I ever tell you about? I opinions divided as to how Halloween actually started, and there's no definitive answer because it all goes back to Celtic traditions, oftentimes in cases with no written records. But trick or treating, I always thought was a really cool one. Okay, here's the story. Um, they have a treasure, and a rival power comes to steal the treasure. Maybe Vikings, maybe other Celts. Someone comes to steal the treasure, and they come up with a brilliant plan to hide the treasure. They don't hide it in one spot because if you put everything in one spot, that spot can be found, and then well, what are you going to do? So they take a little bit of the treasure and put it in the private residence so that basically they've spread it out so that everyone has a little piece to hide it because everybody can hide a piece of whatever. And then when they're going to smuggle the treasure out, the good guys dressed in disguise go through to all the homes and gather the loot up so they can smuggle it out. And that's where the idea of dressing up in costume and going into the house and using a code word like trick or treat. Now, there is an inherent flaw to this plan, and how many people are like, oh, I never get a piece of the treasure, but good luck, or oh, I already gave my piece to another guy, or the dog ate it and the cat blew up, and that type of thing. Oh, Zublix here says hello, Emily, Emily Island. But anyway, that's my preferred story as to the origins of Halloween or Sorrow and everything. And yeah, I know talking to the dead and all that. That's part of it too. Again, they overlap like Christmas. Ooh. Anywho, Emily says some of us call the holiday Samhain. Samhain? I've heard of Soren, but Samhain? Samhain sounds like an old film director, but I will tip of my hat to you. Gary says the Flying Queen of Halloween. The Flying Queen of Halloween. I love it. I love it. Zublik says Nestle invented it. I'll buy that. Indy Spout says, what in the Sam Hain is going on here? What is love it. Love it. Love it. Gary says, suit yourself. Gambit says, and Hallmark invented Mother's Day Zuper. And Zublik says Coca-Cola invented Christmas. That actually there's some validity there. What we think of today as Saint Nick actually came from a Coca-Cola Christmas ad. What we think of today is Santa Claus actually was invented by the Coca-Cola bottling company. So you're not that's not as silly as it sounds. And Lynn says, just popping in to say hi. See some of you on Save's stream Monday night. Oh, that's right. Dave has his, I assuming Dave's stream. Dave does have a stream tomorrow night. And I do it. I thought it was last week. I thought I missed it too. I will be there tomorrow. come heck or heck water. Emily says, I don't think that's how trick or treating started, but it's a cute story. Yeah, again, no one's really sure because um, there are many, many different stories. I just thought it fit nicely with the legend. It's a preferred story. Yes, rest in peace, Ace Frehley. Funny how some of the greats are dying. And Emily says, Sam Hain is pronounced. Oh, I thought I said Samhain. In fact, anyway, yes, Samhain instead of Sam. I'll take your word for it. I'm just going to say Samhain. I'll go no more a sowing with you, dear maid. And Indy says, oh, it's blame it on the Celts. Gotcha. Now I'm with you. And Emily says, Gary, I was shocked when I read about that. Yeah, no, it was very sad. Watching is here. Hello, everyone. I can only listen tonight. That is actually superlative. I'll just be doing a lot of talking. So glad you could hear. In fact, Sarah, be a dear and give Watchamin a link. Gary Newman says, yeah, he was 74. Took a nasty fall or something, I heard. Very sad. And Emily says, Gary, 74 isn't really that old anymore. No, he fell and hit his head or something. It reminded me of the story of Kurt Vonnegut Jr. And Gary says, rest in peace, Samantha Eggar. Yes, she, of course. Oh, there's actually a question. Oh, by the way, that's become Godzilla's new duty. Behind the card of the day are the trivia questions. He's become keepers of the cards, or the queen of all questions, as Brian Aldiss would say. But yes, but Doctor Doolittle is probably what we folks would probably remember her best for. And Gambit says, "Is Samhain the pronounce is I'll come again. Is Samhain if Samhain is pronounced Samhain, then that's the same people that were relatives to Duke's coach K." Okay. And Gary says, no, it's now 100. Yeah, 100 is the new 50. And Emily says, so we can't talk about Wedge, and he can't reply. Oh, sad. Thank you, Tracy, for the link. And Emily says, the only Dukes that, all right, I'll come in again. The only Duke that's important is the Mayo. Duke's Mayo? Mayo Duke? Mayonnaise? The Mayo of Duke? I feel like I'm missing something, but when am I not? And Gary says Dr. Dolittle was her best movie. It's still the one I remember most. I do remember in some other stuff the oh I'm gonna get the name wrong. You guys are gonna laugh at me. The Mary Malones, the movie about the miners in Pennsylvania. She was really Molly McGuire's. The Molly McGuire's. She was great in that too. Hold the mail, thank you. Emily says Duke's mayonnaise is the only mayonnaise. Oh, it's a brand. Up here, besides Hellman, we have Cane's because we've been raising Cane. That was a great old joke in an old episode of Hee Haw, where the guy who was always crying. Anyway, Roy Clark goes up to him and says, "Hey, you been raising Cane?" And he goes, "No, I'm not able." I thought it was funny. I was just at the age where I would get a joke like that, and that was funny. Gambit says, "Give me a ham on 5 and hold the mayo, Captain Over." Yes, okay. Peter Graves' character, a first airplane movie. I knew I'd get it eventually. And then in 2 was I was under Over, but Over was underdone. And Emily says, sadly, Dukes was sold to a New York corporation only a few months ago. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a song in there somewhere, but either way, I apologize. And I'm actually caught up. We only have 8 people on, which is plenty when it's you guys. But Zuplik says Ms. Agar was also in The Collector and Walk Don't Run, Cary Grant's last movie. And I know I've seen both. I just don't recall them that well. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I saw Walk Don't Run. I honestly don't know if I saw Walk Don't Run. I did see The Collector years ago, but yeah, she was in both of those. And Lynn says, "And don't call me Shirley." Emily says, "I tried that, Gary. It just didn't taste right to me. You know, Duke's doesn't have sugar as an ingredient like every single other mayo." I'm actually not huge on mayo. The only actually, you know what? I don't even use. I used to only really use it. I used to only really use it in when I made my homemade tuna salad. But as I'm getting finally starting to believe, when my last physical, doctor said I was actually very healthy. He just wants me to lose weight. Broken record that he is. And when I'm on a diet, I eat a lot of tuna salad because it is very nutrient dense and high in protein and pretty good for you, particularly, particularly if you don't use mayonnaise. So what I do is when I make it, I use um, olive oil, just a little olive oil for texture. Oh, and Gary says I have to use the light Duke's mayo. And Emily says, Lance, that could get messy. I think I missed a couple comments. So if I missed some comments, I apologize. I'm just going to skim through really quickly. No, I think I got. Yeah, don't call me Shirley. Sugar in the mayo. Gary says, it tastes the same to me. I'm trying to cut down on sugar. See rule one. Uh, Len says, Emily, how's the not smoking going? I hope. Well, good question. Good question. And Emily says, Gary, regular Dukes doesn't have sugar. And Gary's also trying to lose weight. And Emily says, Lance, I just can't seem to get below 3 halves a day, but still no more than 5. Yeah, when I actually get down to my target weight, I'll probably quit smoking too. We're talking tobacco, right? And Tracy says, Thrash, do you know if there is a remake of Citizen Kane? I was curious because you brought it up on Tug's stream. A remake of Citizen Kane? Not that I know of, and I don't recall mentioning it. No, I don't recall. I don't think there is a remake of Citizen Kane. There was a period where they were making a lot of remakes in the 70s. Some of them were made for TV. There's an adaptation of, and I don't, it wasn't called From Here to Eternity, but it's basically the story of From Here to Eternity, and it was remade with Brian Dennehy among many, many, many others, and it's basically the story From Here to Eternity. Um, there may have been some made-for-TV remake of Citizen Kane or something. I don't see how you would possibly do that, but Zubik says Tracy Citizen Kane was never made. Thank you. Okay, Zubik just let me off the hook, so good. And Zubik, you might actually know that that sort of retelling of the story of From Here to Eternity that was done as a made-for-TV movie in the 70s. Dennis Weaver was in it as well. He played the camp commander. Um, Other people, that guy who played Guido the Killer Pimp in Risky Business, he was a character actor. He's been in The Matrix. He was in The Last Emperor. He played the Frank Sinatra character. Lance says, my dad did for 30 years, quit cold turkey. Wow, excellent. Mhm. And Emily says, I haven't smoked the devil's weed in decades. Congratulations, Emily. Congratulations. It's legal here in Massachusetts, not to put temptation in your path. Tracy says, I'm 30 pounds to gold. Oh, so proud of you. So proud of you. And Gary says, no remake of Citizen Kane. Thank you again. And Tracy thanks Zuper. And I'm assuming Gary as well. And Land says 2019, 270 and 2025, 215 now. That's excellent. That's one heck of a um, I keep wanting to say increase, but it's decrease accomplishment. Oh, Sean is here. Says hello. Oh, Sean, so good to see you, my brother. Welcome to the chat. Been a while. So glad you could make it. Emily says I can't quit cold turkey. Maybe if I had something to do, it would be easier. I would love to walk for my health, but we live on a busy road with no sidewalks. Yeah, then don't do that. Lynn says Joe Pentalewis. That's I am 100% sure that Pantalino, Pantalewis. I'm gonna go. I think actually I think Pantalino might be accurate, but thank you. Yes, that's the guy I'm talking about. And Zublik says they did a lot of stuff of that stuff on TV. They even remade "It's a Wonderful Life." Ugh, yes, I know with Marlo Thomas. Oh, it was dreadful. I remember it. She tried really hard. I believe Wayne Rogers was in that as well. I mean, yeah, that it was, they really put their heart into it, but no. How do you have It's a Wonderful Life without Jimmy Stewart? You just can't do that. Um, Gary says they have remade Murder on the Orient Express several times. I know, and of course, Bo Jest, because there was that one, the last remake of Bo Jest. And Gambit says I always thought Mrs. Doolittle was just Tootsie remade 10 years later, but Doubtfire. I said Doolittle. I'm going to come in again because that's the big difference. I always thought Mrs. Doubtfire was just Tootsie remade 10 years later, but Doubtfire was a funnier, in my opinion. There's there's something about Tootsie that I learned years ago that was actually really interesting, and I can't think of what it was now. There's some. It's based on some true story, and I can't remember what it was, or some anecdote or something. I forget. And Gambit says Joe Palantino from The Goonies. I haven't seen The Goonies in so many years. I can't remember if he was in it. But again, he's best known for Guido the Killer Pimp and Risky Business. He plays Basie's Blackie in Empire of the Sun. He plays the traitor in The Matrix. Um, he was a character actor for years. You just saw him in stuff. He was just that guy you knew you saw, but you couldn't remember where. Great actor. Great actor. He was. I've seen him in a couple TV things. Now that I think of it, I can't remember what though. And Lance says Gambit and The Matrix, and he was in Bad Boys. Wait, which one? The good Bad Boys or the bad Bad Boys? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Sorry. And Sean says he is there something you heard? Yeah. Um, many things. I just can't remember them all. Entry says that was the bad versus It's a Wonderful Life with Marlowe Stunk. I'll come again. That was bad versus oh, version, I'm guessing. Um, Autocorrect is really wonky then. So we'll come in again with me extrapolating. You remember it was Ian who brought that out years ago. Bob reads what you actually write. We just have to infer. That was bad version of It's a Wonderful Life with Marlowe Stunk. Yes, it was. And Gary says, I wouldn't be caught dead in drag. And Dublik says, I wonder if that was television's worst remake, Tracy. Not even close. And Emily says, Gary, straight men have been doing it for decades. Some like it hot. I love that movie, by the way. Uh, uh, Tony Curtis's Gary Cary Grant impression is priceless in that. Indy says there was a good Bad Boys. Finally, a movie I haven't seen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I like the one with Sean Penn. It's a guilty pleasure. I don't know. That was like the first movie I saw the Kurgan in. Clancy Brown. And I know he was like in his 30s, so he had no business being in a reform school. But I certainly like that one better than the one that was done with He Who Shan't Be Named, and the other one. Lance says, I'm doing that now. Gary says, I know that some guys look great, even Jackie Gleason. Uh, Jackie Gleason look good in drag. I'll have to take your word for it. Tracy says, LOL, I thrash. I thrash too. Gambit says, didn't they have a Bad Boys after the Will Smith assault? Which I think they did. I think they did. What is it about Will Smith where he keeps getting forgiven? It's the whole Robert Downey thing. It's like there's some people that Hollywood, just no matter what they do, they get a hall pass. Yeah. And Ziplik says, whatever rocks your boat, Lance. And Emily says, doing what, Lance? I think he's implying he's in drag at the moment. Again, whatever floats your boat. Oh, no, Lance says he's not in drag. He's watching Bad Boys. I'm just being silly anyway, so please, no offense. Lance says, Joe plays the captain. Oh! Okay, now I'm with you. Now I am up to speed. Tracy says, some like it hot, awesome movie. It certainly was. Nobody's perfect. Gary says, I was watching Halloween with the new Addams Family. Ooh, Mike Myers versus the Addams Family. I know who I'd vote on. Well, superior numbers anyway. Emily says, some people even get elected as presidents. Gary says, Tracy, yes, it is liked it. Zuplik says, oops. Someone says, it's okay, Zuper. And someone says, didn't Tom Hanks start that way? Yes, yes. Bosom Buddies. The movie, I believe he met his later wife Rita Wilson in. She actually did an episode of Bosom Buddies. Peter Scolari was amazing in it. Donna Dixon had a supporting role. It was a great show. So yes, this is, and Lynn says Bosom Buddies. So yes, Gambit says Tom Hanks assaulted Alex Keaton in an episode of filming. Yes, yes, he plays the uncle with an alcohol problem, and while arguing with Alex, he decks him. That whole story arc was really, really tragic. Yeah, although I got one of the funniest jump cuts is when he's drunk at the table and Alex is in the fridge raiding the icebox because he's studying for exams and needs a snack. And Tom goes, "Hungry, Alex?" And Alex like jumps like out of his skin. Indy says Tom Hanks also played a tough guy on Happy Days. Yeah, the kung fu expert. He also played somebody who was batshit in a movie called Mazes and Monsters, which was actually playing on the insanely over dramatized fear of kids' involvement in Dungeons and Dragons in the 70s and 80s, which I gotta tell you, it's like, it didn't turn anybody into Anton LaVey heads. Basically, he drank a lot of Mountain Dew, and there's an amazing I can't remember it. It was this comedy group, but they did a bit on children playing Dungeons and Dragons and how unhealthy it is, and it's just them being idiots telling in jokes, and it's oh my god, it was so like that. It was basically just an excuse to drink a lot of Mountain Dew and be silly for a couple of hours and try to show everybody how funny you were. And Lance says Donna Dixon played Sunny. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And oh, I can't think of the woman's name to save my life. She was one in Total Endo and Dawn. She was one of the Dawn. Um, oh, what was her name? Beautiful, beautiful woman. Can't think of her name to save my life. But she was also in Bosom Buddies. And the woman, speaking of Alex P. Keaton, she played the older sister in Back to the Future. She died tragically of complications of diabetes a few years ago. She too was in Buddhism Buddies. Emily says, Thelma Hopkins. Yes, thank you. I knew the one's name. I just couldn't think of it. I was drawing a blank. Thank you. You are awesome, Emily, as always. And Gary also says Thelma Hopkins, Lucille Benson, Wendy Joe Sperber, Holland Taylor, bosom buddies. So, Gary, you got the whole cast. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Indy says the only disturbing thing about D&D is meeting its creator, Gary Sagax. He was quite the. He wasn't. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize he was such a feminine hygiene product. Bummer. I'll take your word for it. Never met the man myself, actually. Gambit says Thelma Hopkins was in like 17 sitcoms in the 80s. Oh, Telma. Telma. I keep saying Thelma. Now. Telma Hopkins. Telma. Apologies. Thank you. And Sean says he was a douche. LOL. I'm never one to challenge a first-hand account. Indy, if you met the guy and he was a douche to you, that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. I always hate it. I was just talking with somebody about that. I always hate it when you meet somebody and they're an asshole, and you're trying to tell people, well, they always seem nice to me. So they have you snowed. Why would I lie? Schmuck. Gary says, I got a magazine history of TV sitcoms. That sounds very cool. Emily says, fun fact, Holland Taylor replied to one of my tweets a few years ago. That is wicked, wicked cool. What was the tweet per se? And Tree says, I liked Holland Taylor. Wasn't she the mom on Two and a Half Men? Am I thinking the right person? I think I'm thinking the right person. I think I'm thinking the right person. Lynn says, how's the Remind magazine going? Oh, yes. Hopefully it's going well. Zublik says, gotta be a big magazine, Gary. So it would have to be, wouldn't it? Denny's here. He says, greetings from South Carolina. Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask you earlier today, Dan, did you get my message? I watched both those trailers you sent me. That one about uh the woman who works for the corporate corporate asshole and then gets stuck on the desert island. That looks amazing. That looks like Lord of the Flies meets Bridget Jones's Diary. But yeah, they both look good. Thank you. And he says to Sean, people at the early Gen Cons or T-shirts that read "E. coli eats blank," and so does E. Gary. Wow. Danny says my internet has returned. Good. Emily says Emily would like to know why Donald Trump speaks in the third person. Well, Thrash Pondo can't tell you why. Thrash Pondo will tell you that's usually reserved for people who um like to grandstand. As the nicest way I can think of to put it. And Gary says, Z, I've had this mag for ages and it saved me. And I saved it from my fire in 2005. We didn't start the fire. It's always burning since the world been turning. As Ublik says, because he is a fathead, Emily. Zoop, zoop, zoop. We're nice here. Emily says, Holland replied, Holland would like to know why as well. Oh, I see. That was exposition. I see. So now, Thrash knows why Emily said what Emily said, I think. Thrash thinks. We think. I am Negan. I am Legion, for we are many. Classical reference. Lance says, Emily, he's playing his trump card. I always thought he should have named one of his sons Hearts Are Trump. Sean says to Indy, gotcha. I play plenty of D&D back when. Always wanted to go to Gen Con. Never did. I went to plenty of comic book conventions though. Emily Miller says, Zuper, that was my tweet. And Danny says, movie he's talking about, Send Help. Yes. Yes, Send Help. Did I not mention the title? I love when I tell people about something and don't tell them what I'm talking about. Emily says, I put that in quotation marks for a reason. Y'all. I got it. I got it. It took me a second, but I got it. Emily says, we think, therefore we are. We are Negan. Take your pick. There was another one that, all men are Socrates. Gambit says, okay, the politics discussion is old already after a few minutes. Well, in fairness, Miss Emily, I'll come in again. In fairness to Miss Emily, we did ask her what she said, so all she did was tell us. In fact, I am extrapolating she actually was deliberately not saying what she said on purpose. And unfortunately, when she told us what she said, that sort of opened the Pandora's box. Um, so people could get their 2 cents worth in. Um, so yeah, now perhaps now we should refrain from any further. No one did anything wrong, but I think moving forward for the show, I think we should stay away from the politics. Remember, that's not our culture, guys. That's not our culture. I know we all have opinions, but here we just like talking about fun stuff, like old scary movies. So yes. So Luke says, Emily, are you prepared for witching hour? Gary says the witching hour is always at midnight. LOL Socrates. Yeah, it was an old bit. Socrates said this, all men do that, so all men are Socrates. He was doing the logical progression thing, but Emily says what witching hour is actually 3 a.m. I was racking my brains. I didn't want to gainsay anybody, but yeah, I learned that with Amityville Horror. I learned that with Amityville Horror, but I couldn't remember why. So thank you. I knew that it wasn't midnight, but I wasn't 100%. So thank you for helping a brother out. Midnight at 31st, Gary. Um, there's something else about midnight is only big in Western civilization because that's the way we set our clocks. In Emily, help me out here. Isn't it? Is it sunrise the most important hour? And that's why it's very important to like notice the progression of the sun with the solstices and everything. In astrological sense, that's why when the Druids built Stonehenge, it was set up to determine when sunrise on given days, when to plant, when to do this or that. Um, but so yeah, the witching hour is just before dawn, which is not necessarily midnight. Midnight is usually the midway point of night. It's the darkest hour. In fact, someone gave a wonderful. I really should have written things down when I was younger. I got all these really cool um, stories and observances, and I forget most of them. But in the Western calendar, it says a lot about us because to the pagans, the new year began at sunrise on the spring solstice. All right. We end our year at midnight in winter. We end our year in, like a thief in the night. and it says a lot about Western civilization is that it's very sus, as the kids would say these days, huh? Um, so there. Yeah. I don't know what got me on this tangent, but yes. So there you have it. Zublik says, I am a neophyte at these things. Neophyte. Love that word. When I was pledging a fraternity years ago, that was one of the labels they gave us. A neophyte. Love it. Love it. Emily says the moon and the sun are important in pagan beliefs. Yes, yes, they are. And Gary Carpenter says, I'm getting tired of the time changing. I hope they get rid of it soon. I heard, and I'm not sure if this is true, but it sounds just crazy to be true. They actually voted to get rid of daylight savings time a couple years ago. The problem is the schmuck who presented the bill didn't say which he was going to get rid of. So they started arguing. Some wanted it to be where it's the hour later. Some wanted the hour earlier, and they argued and they couldn't agree. And here we are. I think daylight savings time is a crock and should be abolished. I can't agree with you more. Zoomerplex had a great point about that one some time ago, and I can't remember what it is. But Indy says the term you are thinking of is if therefore reasoning is called a syllogism. I thought it was the word I was actually groping for was Hegelian. I believe it wasn't the Hegelian dialectic where you have the uh, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. If it's not the Hegelian dialectic, let me know, Indy. But that was what I was actually groping for. If not, I will use syllogism. I've been groping a lot today, by the way. Fortunately, Mrs. Thrash hasn't caught me. Ooh. Zubik says, but Halloween is cool. Yes, it is. We just don't know where it originated from. Tracy says, was it Sagan Thrash? Could have been. Gary says, Indy, you've been reading Shakespeare again. Shakespeare. Why, who wrote it? Gambit says, they won't get rid of it because there's even pork barrel legislation in the time change bill. Oh, I believe it, but that's sad. Danny says the witching hour traditionally is 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. for spell casting and dancing naked under the serious moon. Under the moonlight, the serious moonlight. And Gary says to Z, there's a video called Scary Mysteries on a video on Halloween. And Emily says, Gambit, not all states do it. No, Indiana, they have the great idea. Half the year they're Eastern, and the other half they're Central. They don't change. The time zones change around them, which I think is brilliant. And Indy says to Gary, luckily I've already read it, so I don't have to do it again. Sometimes when you read Shakespeare over, though, you get stuff out of it you didn't get the first time. Shakespeare shouldn't be read as a story. It should be seen as a play. It's very visual. And Denny says 1 a.m. is the witching hour for Satanists. They go to bed early. And Denny says the 13th hour. My daughter was married to a soldier and she still can't do military time. But I'm like, any number bigger than 12, subtract 12. It's like, it's like. And Gary says only A, Z, and HI don't do the time. I believe, again, I'll throw in Indiana or in. Or it. No, it is Idaho. You're living in your own private Idaho. JC is here. Says yeehaw. Yeehaw to you too. Good to see you. And Emily says Satanists do not have anything to do with Satan. They're actually atheists. You can thank Anton LaVey for that whole rigmarole. And Indy Spout says, nope. Hegelian dialectic is the building of a higher truth through conflicting ideas or concepts. Thank you. As I was saying it, I go, watch. He's gonna correct me. I know. The last philosophy class I took was over 30 years ago. Sorry, but thank you. So syllogism is what I will use from this day forward. And Zublik says, we don't do DST. Here is Puerto Rico because in our latitude it is unnecessary. Cool. A lot of people saying hello to JC, and he says Indiana has been on. Oh, no kidding. Oh, so they changed. Yeah, I was going from a friend who lived there years ago. I did not realize that. Thank you. Indy, what in God's name would I do without you? You know, and Gary says Gilligan's Island had a Hammond musical, which was a riot, which was an absolute riot. Phil Silvers was on that episode. Um, And Emily says, I have military time on my phone and microwave. Gary says, I don't go by military time. I don't like it. A lot of people don't, but I bet you could grok it if you had to. And Emily says, best version of Hamlet I've ever seen. Yeah, it is hilarious. It is. It's an absolute riot. It's an absolute riot. And the funny thing is, um, I really think Alan Hale Jr. would have made a great Polonius. Ian Holm did a good job in the movie, but I really think he would have made a great Polonius. Hey, it's getting towards quarter of. How about we do the trivia, huh? Thank you, Vanna. So anyway, yeah, I don't think anyone else is going to join tonight. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the trivia. This is on basically random Halloween movies or movies that I think are perfect for the Halloween season. And as always, I'm going to read them in no particular order. Oh, and if you're very good, I'll give you a bonus or two. Trivia time, and yes, Emily. To reiterate, Halloweeny movies. Number 10, recent heavy casualty. Ace Frehley appeared in this Kiss Halloween classic. Was it A, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Mall? B, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Theme Park? C, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Paradise? Or D, Kiss meets the Phantom Toll Booth? I shall repeat. Oh, Gary Cameron says John Aston is the only cast member. Yes, I know. That's amazing, isn't it? And he says Kiss meets. Oh, let me repeat. Recent heavy casualty, Ace Frehley, appeared in this Kiss Halloween classic. Was it A, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Mall, B, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Theme Park, C, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Paradise, or D, Kiss meets the Phantom Toll Booth? And Gambit says message retracted. And a message retracted to you too. And Gary said the word theme is not in the. Are you sure? Well, I'll take your word for it. Should I really doubt you? Emily says, however, Toll Booth Phantom would be interesting. Well, okay. The correct answer is Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, apparently. I thought it was Phantom of the Theme Park, but it's actually Phantom of the Park. Phantom Toll Booth is actually an animated movie. Gary Jones, I want to say. I saw it. My mother took me to see it on my birthday when I was like 7 at the movie theaters, and I believe it was Butch Patrick. But there is a Phantom of the Toll Booth, Phantom Toll Booth, but I went Phantom of the Toll Booth. Um, and he says Norton Juster was an odd duck. I suppose he was. The correct answer is yes. Just to drive it home, B. Moving forward, number 9. This experimental horror anthology flick involves a number of stories where the fates are intertwined. Was it A, Trick or Treat, B, Creep Show, C, Nightmares, or D, Trilogy of Terror? I shall repeat. This experimental horror anthology flick involves a number of stories where the fates are intertwined. Was it A, Trick or Treat, B, Creep Show, C, Nightmares, or D, Trilogy of Terror? The cat's eye did it. Gary Carpenter said, Sean, they were on the Paul Lynde Halloween party 76, I believe. I believe that was the first time I saw Kiss. And he says, Gary, you're a Kiss fan. R.I.P. Ace. Yes, indeed. That's why I mentioned it. And you know what? I knew I was going to catch a lot of you, and a lot of you would say D because, well, they're all Karen Black, but the stories aren't related. In fact, you see that usually there's some type of framing device, like in Dr. Shrek's House of Horrors. It's all a bunch of people like stuck on a long train ride, or you know, just people visiting a park or a tourist trap. But the fates, by and large, aren't connected. The correct answer is Trick or Treat from 2009. Don't know if it quite worked, but if you watch closely, all the five stories are all interconnected. Um, for example, there's two stories, one about a serial killer who's the school principal, which is probably the weakest, but one about a coven of werewolves. I don't know. It's either a coven of werewolves or a pack of witches, whichever you want to look at it. Um, which has a Little Red Riding Hood theme intertwined. Spoiler alert: the werewolf gets her first kill is actually the principal serial killer. So yeah, everything that plays out is all kind of tied together. So the correct answer is in fact A, Trick or Treat. And Sean says, but Karen Black. Yeah, but none of them are related. She just plays all three parts. In fact, she plays four parts in a trilogy, which I doff my cap to thee, because she actually plays a dual role in one. Actually, would you consider that a dual role? It's a whole Sybil thing. Gary says, I refuse to see it if that warrior doll is creepy. Emily says, I don't think I've seen it. Oh, it's not bad. It's not great. But like I said, I love the concept. And Tracy says, I'm sorry, I have to run and take care of my laundry. No worries. Thank you for joining us. Zubik says, I think it is on YouTube. Could be. Could be. I happen to catch it on one of my streaming services. But anyway, the correct answer is A. Number 8. Another recent heavy casualty, Samantha Eggar, starred in this Cronenberg horror classic. I almost gave this one away earlier. Was it A, The Fly, B, The Brood, C, Videodrome, or D, Rabbit? I shall repeat. Recent heavy casualty, Samantha Eggar, starred in this Cronenberg horror classic. Was it A, The Fly, B, The Brood, C, Videodrome, or D, Rabbit? You know, she had a son. His name was Hammond. Sorry. Give you guys another second. Sean says, good night to Tracy. The laundry god summoning you tonight. You too, huh? Emily says, I only know this from the Facebook post. Yeah, Facebook kind of blew up over her. But yes, the correct answer is The Brood. Number 7. Which of these horror flicks is not set in Gothic horror capital of America, New England? Is it A, The Shining, B, The Sea Beast, C, Ghost Story, or D, The Haunted Palace? And it's a good thing I knew this one because I circled the wrong answer. So I can correct myself, and you guys will never know. Which of these horror flicks is not set in New England? Is it A, The Shining, B, The Sea Beast, C, Ghost Story, or D, The Haunted Palace? Gavin says, "We're the sea bees of the no sea beast, sea beast, sea under beast." And let's just see. Give you guys another minute. And again, this one might have tricked people for one specific reason. Oh, thank you for the link, Danny. Oh, Sean's gonna go. Sean, have a great one. Take care. Thank you for joining us. And yes, Indy, The Shining, the book is set in New England, but the movie is set in Colorado. So yeah, little sneakiness there. Yes, the rest of them are all take place. Ghost Story takes place in Vermont, and Sea Beast off Nantucket, and what was the other one? Haunted Palace. I forget, but it's New England. Number six. Which of these Halloween horror must watches is not a remake? Is it A, Get Out, B, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, C, Cat People, or D, Dawn of the Dead? And if you want to look at it this way, does not have a remake. Some of you might be thinking the original. But anyway, I will repeat. Which of these horror must sees, I'll come again. Which of these Halloween horror must watches is not a remake? Is it A, Get Out, B, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, C, Cat People, or D, Dawn of the Dead? Fine, Indy, I'll go. The Shining took place in Colorado too, the book? It did? I could have sworn the book was set in New England. And they changed it. Like Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank Redemption, I'm going to make a fool of myself. I was under the impression that Shawshank Redemption was set in Maine, the book, but the movie is another state. But I could have sworn The Shining was set in New England in the book, but I will believe you. Gary Carpenter says the shootist. Oh, it's raining, huh? Was it Brewbreaker set in Maine too? Maybe. Maybe. I haven't seen the movie in years, but maybe. The correct answer is Get Out. And actually, why don't we do some scores? Yeah, how about some scores? But A, Get Out was the answer there. And Danny says, my son swears he saw his toothpaste moving on its own. I told him to watch the stuff and get back to me. That's weird. Oh, Tug showed up at some point during because he got 2 out of 3. What do you mean he showed up during? He goes, well, don't be sad because 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Zublik's got 3 out of 5. Gary Carpenter's 5 out of 6, and he says to Gary, Alamo, Reap the Wind, Wake of the Red Witch, Sands of Iwo Jima, etc. Let me know when you're satisfied. It works for me. Any of the scores? Emily is 4 out of 5. Gary is in fact satisfied. Um, no, wait, 3 out of 5. She says 3 out of 5 instead. That's still pretty good. Oh, the Cowboys is where he died. I was wondering. He died in the Cowboys. Yes. Um, he actually died in a bunch of films. John Wayne. It took me a second to put the piece together. Yeah, John movies where John Wayne died in. But yes. And Eastbound says, so far so good. Haunted Palace. That's it. Arkham, Massachusetts, which there is no such place, but you can thank Mr. Lovecraft for people thinking there is. Superblix, the Duke made like 150 movies, something crazy like that. And Tug says, I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no. And Gary says the Duke yacht is haunted by him. Oh, that's a really cool fun fact. And Gary says, geek, thank you, Rodney Dangerfield. I tell you, I get no respect at all. I get no respect at all. My parents said they wanted a boy. I get no respect at all. Moving forward. Barbara Crampton did not lend her vocals to this cult horror flick. You see what I did there? A. Reanimator. B. From Beyond. C. Chopping Mall. Or D. The Stuff. Yeah, see, Denny, you brought up the stuff. That was a nice question. That's crazy. Barbara Crampton, I'm repeating, of course, at this point. Barbara Crampton did not lend her vocals to this cult horror flick. That's because she's considered a scream queen. Was it A. Reanimator, B. From Beyond, C. Chopping Mall, or D. The Stuff? Emily, you don't like Barbara Crampton? Weren't we just talking about her last week? I could have sworn we were talking about her last week. I talk about her a lot. I don't know. I actually found out she had already graduated. When I went to college, I used to go to Castleton all the time because I knew some guys who went to school there. She actually graduated from Castleton State College in Vermont. Was that Jackie's wife on the Honeymooners? Barbara Crampton. She was an 80s scream queen and a very fine actress. And she was not in The Stuff. She was in the other films, however. She's you have to at least watch The Reanimator. For her alone, you have to at least watch The Reanimator. um, and it says the other three films you named were all made within a year of each other. I know, right? I know. Well, that's why she gets the reputation of being a scream queen. They were all like 85, 86, all around in there. And Zublik says her daughter is Hunter King, who was on Y&R, Emily. Really? What's Y&R? Young and Restless. Okay, I got it. Young and Restless. And I'll just see. B, no clue, none at all. But anyway, the correct answer is Barbara Crampton. And Gary says Carolyn Jones, John Austin, Lurch, Uncle Fester lent their voices to the Scooby Doo movies. Scooby Doo meets the Addams Family. I'm really surprised John Astin didn't lend his voice to the Saturday morning cartoon, but they got Lenny Weinrib to do his voice, which is funny because Lenny Weinrib, phenomenal voice actor, doesn't sound a thing like Gomez Adams. And Tug says Reanimator got her a head in the cult scene. You could put it that way. You could put it that way. Emily says, who did she play? Zuper. And he says 85, 86 is spot on. Bob, thank you. That period, that was sort of like the high watermark of American horror. It had just the right amount of graphic violence, and still the storytelling was, I think, peaking at that point. That's also, I mean, one could make a case it was already going downhill at that point. But I mean, come on, Reanimator was great. Return of the Living Dead. There were just some really great stuff that was coming out around that time. And Jublik says, I know she played Summer I Nick and Sharon's daughter. Thank you, Superplex, for that one. Oh, number 4. Jeff Goldblum did not appear in this horror classic. Was it A, The Sentinel, B, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, C, Let's Scare Jessica to Death, or D, Sleepy Hollow? Oh, am I freezing? Oh, I'm so wicked sorry. Wicked sorry. Wicked sorry. Danny says just watched a movie called uh Gleason on the life of Jackie Gleason. Great movie. Got a big goof from Everyone Loves Raymond in it. Great movie. uh the big goof. Oh yeah. I know you're talking about the big goof. It wasn't a big goof. It was the big goof. Yes. And I shall repeat. Jeff Goldblum did not appear in this horror classic. Was it A, The Sentinel, B, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, C, Let's Scare Jessica to Death, or D, Sleepy Hollow? Robert something or other. His name is Robert something or other. Jamie, what's the guy who played in Everybody Loves Raymond? Robert who? I thought you knew. Never mind. Emily says, "Oh, that was long after I stopped watching. The last time I saw their daughter, she was a toddler." And he says, "What was the question? Who was the brother on Everybody Loves Raymond? I want to say it's Robert something or other is his name." And Doug says, "You're still warm on my end. Thank you." Uh, Gary says, "Jodie Foster was Pugsley on the show. I did not know that." Again, number 4 was Jeff Goldblum did not appear in this horror classic. Was it A, The Sentinel, B, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, C, Let's Get Jessica to Death, or D, Sleepy Hollow? Brad Garrett. I wasn't even close. So where'd I get Robert? I'm sorry. Thank you. Whoever said Brad Garrett. Yes, Brad Garrett. Are we talking about Brad Garrett? Apparently, in a very roundabout way. Um, and the correct answer is C. He was not in Let's Scare Jessica to Death. He played Ichabod Crane in a version of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, but he was not in Let's Scare Jessica to Death. Number 3. Uh, the demonically possessed reading material in The Evil Dead was titled A, the Necronomicon, B, the Naturum Demonta, C, the Haxan, or D, the Equinox. I shall repeat, or at least I'll try to. The demonically possessed reading material in The Evil Dead was entitled what? Was it A, the Necronomicon, B, the Naturum Demento, C, the Haxan, or D, the Equinox? Oh, and he says, "Wait, Bob, you said Sleepy Hollow. See, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the I believe it was a Disney adaptation made for TV movie. So you know what? I will give it to you. But you should have known he wasn't Let's Scare Jessica to Death. Yes, so you should have asked for a ruling. But I will give it to you because there was some confusion in my wording. Like I'm about to fight on this one because it was actually the Naturum Demonto. I guess it's based on the Necronomicon, but they actually refer to it in the movie as the Naturum Demonanto. Um, sorry. Emily says, I've never seen Let's Scare Jessica. It's actually a pretty good, weird cult horror film. Uh, and he says, I barely even caught the question in the first place because I'm glitching. Sorry. So again, I will give it to you. You guys know if you really take if there's like some gray area, give yourself the point. I'm not a stickler. I'm not a stickler for a tickler. So anyway, for example, I think a lot of you are going to give yourself the point for the Necronomicon, and you know what? You should because I accidentally circled it. But when I was doing the research in the page, it said it was the Noctorum Demento, which I can't say. So for that reason alone, you should. John Doe is here. Says, "Well, I'm back. I think." John Doe, so glad you are here, my friend. And you're just in time for number two, which is, in addition to being our favorite Repo Man, Harry Dean Stanton appeared in this auto-themed horror flick. Was it A, The Car, B, Killdozer, C, Christine, or D, My Mother, the Car? Emily says, John, I feel like that a lot. A lot of people saying hi to John. Gary says, wanna bet I saw it a while ago on the shorts videos. John says, I'll have an egg roll on the side. And Doug says you previewed this one on the stream. Yes, yes, I did actually. So if you watched Doug's channel earlier, you'll get this one automatically. But I'm sure most of you will get it anyway. I shall repeat. In addition to being our favorite Repo Man, Harry Dean Stanton appeared in this auto-themed horror flick. Was it A, The Car, B, Killdozer, C, Christine, or D, My Mother, the Car? John Doe says the 1977 The Car is an awesome car. Yes, it is. It's great. I actually reviewed that with Anubis not too long ago. And he says the Netrum Demento was the original name of the Necronomicon. They're the same book, Bob. Thank you, Indy, for just being you. You know, I honest to God did not know that. I honest to God did not know that. I thought one was from the Evil Dead universe and one was from the H.P. Lovecraft universe. I did not know they were basically the same thing, honestly. And you know what? I may have at one point because now there's a bell ringing in my head. It's probably the tinnitus, but that actually sounds wicked, wicked familiar. So George Barris did an excellent job. He certainly did. But I want to thank you because um, like I say, I use the same book twice. Equinox, as you know, I'm sure you do, Indy, is from the Aleister Crowley bibliography, and that was actually turned into a movie, which a lot of people say The Evil Dead is based on because it's very, very similar. It's about a group of college kids that get a cabin in the woods and read from a book of the dead, and hilarity ensues. Some really great stop motion monsters are in it. And I want to say the guy who played the irascible patient in Bob Newhart is in it. I can't think of his name to save my life, but in any event, I want to thank you again, Indy. Thank you for playing. Give yourself 2 points for that one. You can have both points. And again, anyone who says the Necronomicon, give yourself the point. See, I said I was going to lose. Oh, did I say the Christine? C. Christine is the answer to number two. And yes, I mentioned that Harry Dean Stanton was in the Christine on Tug's show. Number one, and this is subjective, but to get full credit, you have to have been paying attention to things I've been saying on my channel all along. And that is number one, the closest character to the hero in Night of the Living Dead would have to be A, Mr. Cooper, B, Ben, C, Tom, D, the newscaster. I shall repeat. The closest character to the hero in None of the Living Dead would have to be A, Mr. Cooper, B, Ben, C, Tom, D, the newscaster. Oh, George Barris made 90% of the screen, cars, movies, TV shows. Only 257 is here. And he keeps saying C. C. not see, no. And Gary Carpenter says, I've only read two. Oh, only I've read too many ghost stories about cars. And then he says to Tug, I'm pretty sure they called it the Necronomicon in the sequel. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, they did. They did. I completely forgot that. But yes, because the sequel is actually part remake, part sequel. So yes. And Tug said they called it that, but that's not what's written in the book. And John Doe says the zombies. Ooh, interesting twist. And Emily says, see, I've never seen the movie. Tom is a great character. Uh, Indy says her brother, see what I did there? Yeah. Yeah. Johnny, we have to go and look for him. Um, Barbara. Well, she does try to help at the end. And only says Dawn of the Dead from 1978 is a remake. I thought it was a sequel. 78 Dawn of the Dead is a quasi sequel to um, Night of the Living Dead, but there was a remake of Dawn of the Dead in 2004. And some people say Day of the Dead is the last of the trilogy, but then Return of the Living Dead is a sequel in a different sense. So there's a lot of overlappage. I say the actual closest thing the film has to a hero is the newscaster, the newsroom. They're risking their lives to give the viewers all the information they need to survive. They present the first on-screen depiction of the zombie survival guide. They are telling people what to do. Again, risking their own lives. To keep broadcasting. I say the newscaster, or if you want TV as a whole, is the hero of Night of the Living Dead. Of course, as you know, it was actually inspired by the 24-hour news coverage after the Kennedy crisis a few years before. Oh, and I got a couple of bonuses because these have been going so well this whole time. Bonus number one. This one's a toughie. I know it. I just watched the movie last night, so I remember hearing it. I go, I wonder how many people actually will get this because it actually is said in the movie. Although it's not an IMBD, it just you have to overhear it. In the Romero universe, Sheriff McClellan's first name is what? A. Bert, B. Gus, C. Virgil, D. Carl. Oh, and by the way, yes, he's the one who goes, "Yep, they're dead. They're all messed up." One of the most quoted lines of the entire movie. I shall repeat. In the Romero universe, Sheriff McClellan's first name is what? A. Bert, B. Gus, C. Virgil, or D. Carl. And don't get mad if you don't know. Say it once in passing, and I've only seen the movie about 300 times. So thank you for picking up on that, Tug. Yes, Coral. It's Coral. Gary says Dawn of the Dead, Dawn, Day, Return, and Night of the Living Dead are all terrible in my mind. Well, if you don't like zombies, I can see that. John Doe says, fun fact, he just jumped, sorry. The zombies are a metaphor for the humans in the night, day, dawn, land, diary, twilight, and land of the dead. Okay. Oh, and John Doe goes on to say, Return of the Dead" was supposed to be an expansion universe of the Dead, but Romero got into an argument with them, and it didn't happen. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of infighting and whatnot. Oh, and then he says, which sheriff? Sheriff McClellan. Sheriff McClellan. He's the one that Chili Billy is interviewing. Bill Carlisle. Was a horror host who got a small part because he was loved in the Pennsylvania area. He's the guy, the newscaster is actually interviewing um, the rescue squad slash lynch mob, and he's one. Are they slow moving cheese? Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up, but they actually refer to him by his first name in one scene. And Gary says White Zombie was better. And he says McClellan's first name is Conan. It's not on your list. It's Gus. There's a line where someone says, "Hey Gus, you need anything from the truck?" And he goes, "No, we're all set." Conan? Conan McClellan? Okay, I tell you what, Indy. I tell you what, I'm going to research that one. For any of you who guessed B, consider yourself as more or less correct. Bert is actually the guy who owns the medical supply warehouse in Return of the Living Dead. But you say it's Conan. I'm gonna check who Conan McClelland is, and see. And if you're right, I will eat this hat. No, I'm not gonna eat the hat. That would be uck. I will eat a cheeseburger. Yes. If you're right, I will eat a cheeseburger. Maybe with bacon. Yeah, that'd be a fitting punishment, huh? Da, 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 da. Oh yeah, we did get the tar man. And Tug says, I'm pretty sure it's Gus, but I'm going to but I'm not going to argue with Indy twice in one stream. God, this is Bert I. Gordon. My aunt worked with him actually. My aunt did one of his movies. They're coming to get you, Barbara. Yes, Gary. And yes. And Indy says he was played by George uh, Kosuna. I know this movie pretty well, Bob. Yeah, yeah. He actually only died well not too long ago. Emily says, I just Googled it and Indy is right. They say, Gus, do you need anything from the supply wagon? Fine, tomorrow I'll have a cheeseburger. Um Emily, thank you. Indy, you never cease to impress me. You never do. You never cease. I stand amazed. Conan McClelland. I'm not gainsaying you, but I have to research that to find out. But wow, wow. And Gary says Thriller was based on zombie movie Craze. Really? I'll buy that. I'll buy that. And he says, "Well, would you look at that?" And Tug says, "Eat a cheeseburger." And Danny is laughing hysterically at me. I don't blame him. I would too. And Tug says, "I'll have to eat one too then." Just make sure it's dietary friendly for your diabetes. And John Doe says Return of the Living Dead is where we find out that zombies feel pain and they eat brains. Send more paramedics. I love that line. But yes, brain. It's funny. That's what the whole zombies and brains thing. That's where it come. That did not exist before Return of the Living Dead. So yeah, yeah. So wow, that's I'm sorry, my mind is still smoldering over Conan McClellan. Conan McClellan. Wow. Before Conan O'Brien, before Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Barbarian, and Conan McClellan. Send more caps. Which is funny. Okay, Indy, help me out here. Is that a Confederate Army officer's jacket he's wearing? He'll know. You'll probably even know the rank. Oh, and I have one more. I have one more. So if anyone said Gus, you get it right. If anybody said anything else, we'll call it the indie rule, and you get it right too. And Emily says maybe somebody called him Gus, like saying dude or something. Perhaps, perhaps, but I'm going to watch it again. Um. Anyway, I have one more. I have one more. Iconic horror filmmaker Jordan Peele did not cite this director as one of his influences. Was it A. George Romero, B. Wes Craven, C. John Carpenter, or D. Mel Brooks? Now, be careful. It may not be the obvious choice. It's the only hint I'll give. And I shall repeat. Iconic horror filmmaker Jordan Peele did not cite this director as one of his influences. Was it A. George Romero, B. Wes Craven, C. John Carpenter, or D. Mel Brooks? With the caveat to be careful because it may not be the obvious choice. You're right, Toby Hooper wasn't one of his influences, but that wasn't one of the questions. And Emily's just guessing completely. Well, anyway, I shan't keep you with suspenders. The correct answer is D, Mel Brooks. Ah, you should have gone for the more obvious choice. I said you may not want to go for the obvious choice, but yeah. I gave up on Conan. You have to let me have some fun. Anyway, that is as they say that. I think we all learned a lot this one, myself included. Note to self: do better research, or at least contact Indy first. There, there. And how about some scores? And include any bonus points or times you just decided that you deserve the points. Uh, Tug is 6/8 out of 7 if you include the bonus. Definitely include the bonus. Emily says, I learned how nothing about classic horror. Oh, I learned I know nothing about classic horror. It keeps jumping and I can't even like catch up. John Doe is 90 out of 34. Excellent, excellent. Doug says so 7 out of 8. Gary Carpenter says, ouch. I just said that and I put A. Zuplex is 4 out of 8. I chose to ignore the 3 controversy questions. 3 and 4 and 0 out of bonus points. Ellie says, hell if I know my score. Gary Carpenter is 7 out of 10. Any Spout says, the only person I've heard him reference from that list is Carpenter. He definitely name dropped Hitchcock a few times. I got some right here, and they're strong armed for you for the rest. Ah, you didn't strong arm me because you were right. You pled your case and were given validation. And that last one was really more of a joke. But I have heard him, and yes, he did mention Hitchcock as well, by the way. But I believe he was mentioned. I saw him talk about Romero somewhere, and he cited People Under the Stairs, which of course is Wes Craven. He said he loved People Under the Stairs was one of the things that wanted to make him become a director. So but yes, he has named John Carpenter specifically. The Mel Brooks was just a joke, but again, you made a fair and valid case. So strong arming is if you just bully me into saying fine, take the points. No, you were right. Um, Gary says you should have used Universal Studio Monsters. Um, Ask Indy. John says I haven't seen the car Road to Vengeance yet. Me neither. And he says I feel validated. Sniff. You're just such an amazing fact checker. I gotta love it. I gotta love it. And Zublik says, T Pons, what's the latest news regarding your brother in law? He's going in for a follow up. He's going to be starting chemotherapy probably this week. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. I'll let Mrs. Thrash know you guys were asking as well. And on that note, I should probably wrap things up. My voice is starting to go again, but this was an absolute total blast. Hope to see a lot of you tomorrow on Dave's show. I'm going to try to put out some new content this week. It's just been crazy this month, and anyway, I just want to thank all you guys for being here. This is so much fun. I had such a blast. There weren't a lot of us tonight. There wasn't a lot of us tonight, but we had a tremendous amount of fun. And again, Indy, I want to thank you and everyone else who corrects me. You know what? Some people, get like, ooh. I'm like, no, if I'm wrong and you have the right facts, never, ever, ever, ever hesitate Not that anyone has so far, but I want you guys to always feel that you can always say what you should in order to correct me. And this was just a great show. I am on next week. I will be with Sarah and Dan. Not sure what we're going to be talking about. Probably send help, which should be the name of my show. But anyway, other than that, I want everyone remember: be good, be safe, be careful. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.